Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you spending some time with us where sports truly meets life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT as well as on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and the MixLR feed is embedded on the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com, so you can also listen on our website on the homepage itself. So make sure that you do that and connect with us there. We appreciate you so much for being a part of the broadcast and hanging out with us where sports meets life. Once again, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here for you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. So today we have two awesome guests coming up for you on the show. They're no stranger to the broadcast, and in that case, they are no stranger to you. And that being first and foremost, Papa Joe is going to be joining us inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. PJ will be joining us today on the broadcast to speak on numerous topics. Papa Joe and I will be getting into the college football playoff, as well as Trevor Lawrence going #1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars and his thoughts on that, the coaching carousel that happens in college football, and how these changes happen ever so quickly and sometimes faster than maybe you think they should. So we'll discuss that. We'll also talk about the NFL playoffs and so much more, including the Jacksonville Jaguars coaching situation and what his thoughts are on that as we step forward into this upcoming season. So plenty to talk about with Papa Joe. And then Ross will be joining us. Ross Turetsky, a broadcaster and a writer from northeastern Pennsylvania, and also one of my closest friends and someone I consider a brother, will be joining us, as always, with a comedic approach and a warm heart. We'll be talking about this crazy world of sports and this crazy world in general. And, of course, we'll have plenty of laughs coming up and some deep and honest conversation per always. So if you're ready to laugh, ready to enjoy it, and ready to warm your heart a little bit, Wake Up Call is right for you, and these two guests are better than anything else I could throw at you when it comes to wanting to brighten up your day. So I appreciate Papa Joe being here with us today, and I appreciate Ross joining us in just a little bit. So with that being stated, I very much and proudly welcome into the broadcast Mr. Papa Joe. He's here with us from the great state of Florida, that beautiful sunshine state where it's a little bit cool this morning. It's only a few degrees warmer than what it is in Syracuse, New York. PJ, how are we doing today?
Frost is on the oranges there, Daniel. Frost is on the oranges.
Well, you know, and the thing is, you talk about frost on the oranges with these start and stops happening all the time for college basketball. The frost is on the orange as well. They went almost 3 weeks without playing a game, but they've been able to get back on it. Their schedule has changed multiple times, and yet here we are today with a schedule that hopefully will stay the same and they could get through what they need to get through. As far as dealing with the weather down there, what's that been like for you? Because I know that Floridians are not used to, I mean, if it's 60 degrees in Florida, that's like sweatshirt weather. So how have you been dealing with everything?
Well, you know, with my condition, with the polyneuropathy, the colder it gets, the worse I am. So the best thing for me to do is just stay inside. Mary won't let me go anywhere anyway, so what the hell. I go to the garage, to the pool area, and back. That's as far as I go. And I got to stay bundled up, you know, and that's the way it is. So I have to deal with what I got to deal with. And the colder the weather, the worse it is. But I feel better this morning. I'm ready to rock and roll. Hey, I just got over the line. Adam Scheffler just came over to ESPN,
Yeah.
right over across my computer screen here. Urban Meyer is in the final stages of putting together his deal with the Jaguars. And Scheffler said a lot more than that. I didn't catch it all, but it was breaking news. So perhaps maybe by the end of the show or by the end of today, you'll have something to talk about with some other guests.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this situation coming through here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, rumors sometimes end up being true in the world of sports. Sometimes they're wackadoo and sometimes they're not. But we're looking at things now saying, and there's the notion that Urban Meyer met with Jacksonville again yesterday. So, you know, as we look at things this morning, it says they're in advanced talks to see if they could finalize a deal. And what we're seeing this morning from Jacksonville, one of the topics we're going to talk about. So kind of perfect timing, and that's how God works. looking at this right now, following a meeting with the Jaguars again on Wednesday, it's the reality that this could happen, and this may come together sooner than later. And some people wondering if it was going to come together at all. There's been talks about the fact that Urban Meyer was putting together a coaching staff just in case he did it. And the question is, why would he even bother? You know what I mean? These guys need to get jobs. If they're not going to get jobs with him, they need to get jobs elsewhere. So the question would be, why put together a staff or think about put together a staff if you're really not thinking about this job? And I guess we start there, PJ. You know, as I look at some of the information coming in this morning, just, you know, what your thoughts are on that when you start hearing, you know, that Urban Meyer was putting together a staff just in case he took the job. I mean, these are guys that have to find jobs. They have to jump into things. Before we know it, spring ball is going to be around if they're going to stay in college. You know, pro-wise, they got to get ready for the draft and whatnot. So, you know, I mean, if he's putting together a staff, then that, to me, would make it a real thing that he'd be coming to the NFL, or else why hold up these guys that need to obviously find jobs? And obviously the timing of it all, it wouldn't make sense to ask people to put things on hold when they need to get somewhere.
That's true. But, you know, Urban he walks to the beat of a different drum. He's highly egotistical. He's self-centered. He's very controlled. He has to have things his way. Now, I first learned of him when he was at Utah. And I'm thinking, what the hell, what do I want to read about Urban Meyer from Utah? Well, the reason I wanted to read about it was because the president of Utah came over to take the presidency of the University of Florida. So already the rumors start, well, he's going to bring Urban Meyer with you. And don't you know, 2 weeks later, Urban comes over to the University of Florida to follow his presidents there to stay there with the Gators. So, but he's a tough guy to control. He's got to have things his way. He's you know, that's just the way these guys are. I mean, you know, a lot of guys are the same way, but he is more controlling than that. I think that the more he looks at the roster, the more he looks at the draft picks, the more he looks at the stadium, coming back down to South Florida, buying a house on the beach, You know, that's pretty good stuff. You know, so you know, for him to get this far along in the process and don't say no, I guess we're looking at that as sort of a quasi yes. You know, and Adam Shepard, he doesn't do things half-assed. He knows his stuff, and if he hears something and he puts it out there, it's pretty good going to be true.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're looking at this morning and seeing the situation, and basically, you know, they're basing this on continued discussions that Urban Meyer has continued to talk to Jacksonville. He won 3 national championships in his time in college, compiled a 187 win to 32 loss coaching record. He coached at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State. He won 2 of his titles with the Florida Gators, your team, PJ, in 2006 and 2008. He led them to a 65-15 record in 6 years. And then he went to Ohio State, where he had an 83-9 record in 7 seasons and the 2014 national championship. So he's done a lot of great stuff in college. He has not coached the pros, and this would be a jump for him. That would be something new in his career. You talk about his ego. Should the Jacksonville Jaguars be concerned about what that could do to a program that, I mean, Shad Khan seems to be very well spoken. He doesn't seem to be an egotistical guy. He seems to know what to say and how to say it. I've appreciated what he's shared with us as I am a member of the media that covers this team and is connected with the program. So what does Urban Meyer do to the Jaguars? Does he make them better? Does he change their identity? What do you think about all that?
I think that it has to do, Daniel, with what kind of control he's going to have over the team. I wouldn't be surprised if he hires the general manager. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, or at least has input into that. He's got to have control. So if he wants to do that, he's got to plead the con and say, listen, I don't mind being accountable for this. You know, if you can fire me after a year if you want to, but I got to have things this way. If things fall into place, we're going to be successful. If things are not, shake hands, see you later.
Yeah.
But that's the way I look at it right now, and that's about where we are right now. And the only person interview with Shad is on his boat, on his yacht. No one else they've had all Zooms. Urban's the only one to go on the yacht and have one. So, that's got to account for something.
Yeah, and Urban Meyer coming there, I mean, obviously his track record is good as far as, the win-loss column goes, but the character column, the how he goes about his business column, I mean, you had him with the Gators for 6 seasons. I know you described him a little bit here, and you talked about his ego and whatnot, but what would you say about it, as far as when he was the coach of the Florida Gators? What did you not like about Urban Meyer?
Well, first of all, he's driven. I mean, that's with most successful people, they're driven, and he was driven. I remember him doing a little interview with something, and he said, I'm going to come to the University of Florida. He says, and I'm bringing someone with me. I'm not going to tell you who that's going to be. We all knew who it was. It was going to be Tim Tebow. So, when he rides the coattails of Tim Tebow, he gets a couple of national championships, then he goes on his way. Urban Meyer has a propensity to overwork himself sometimes. He's highly organized. He's just a really, really smart man. And if he can channel his aggressions and channel his work schedule to the Jaguars' needs, then we're going to be that much better for it. The best thing that can happen in the next week, at least in the next 3 or 4 days, is for Shad to say, Urban Meyer is going to be our next coach. And then let the poop hit the fan and things happen. Okay? All the emails all over the place in the Facebooks and the Spotify's and those other kind of junk, they're going to be all over the place. Guys are going to be flying into town wanting to meet Urban, and, pretty soon Gardner's going to stop driving around the country with his mustache and come into town and start throwing the ball with Urban. So I'd like to see that, but let's do the first things first. Let's be sure that he got the job. There could be a little wrinkle in there that Chad doesn't want to give up. First of all, it's money. I mean, we know the guy's going to come expensive. If he's going to come for $10 to $12 million, damn, that's a powerful lot of money. That's a lot of money. So listen, if Shad wants to give up control, at least somewhat, forget about the hot dogs and the hamburgers and the parking and the programs and stuff like that. Let someone else handle that. If he wants to give up control of the football team to him, it's going to be far better more for it.
And as we look at this, the Jaguars do not have a general manager. They do not have a head coach. They are looking for it all currently right now. So this would put them in a position of, are they going to let him do both? Are they going to let him, like you said, hire somebody else? How is it going to go about? What's going to happen? As we look here this morning, Urban Meyer has still not made a decision, but the talk about him with Jacksonville has gone on and 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 on. He's 56 years old, and he has, again, not gone to the NFL yet, and there was a notion he wasn't going to coach again. That says the Chargers are exploring the opportunity of this as well. So this is where we sit at. Oh, is there anything in the newspaper? I know Arthur Smith from the Tennessee Titans, their offensive coordinator, was also connected with the Jaguars job. Is there any thoughts that anything that there's any other choice? I mean, is there any notion down there in Jacksonville? You're in North Florida, right by Jacksonville. Has there been anything other than Urban Meyer, or are we to believe that he's the guy, and if he says no, that they're going to be back to square one?
Oh, they've channeled through some of the old coaches, some of the new offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators they've run through, just to make the window dressing good. This is going to be a big deal. This is going to be a big deal. When you think about it, I'm sure he's got everything he's highly organized. I showed you that. One thing that he's going to do is he's going to sit down and pick apart every piece of this roster, and he's going to say, damn, these kids are young, they're good, and they're fast. Now, if I'm thinking to Urban, now I get to bring in the best quarterback in the last 10 years, the best one that's ever strapped it up since Luck. I'm going to have a quarterback throw to some of these guys, and the defense is, frankly, Daniel, it's a perfect storm for him. I mean, if you're going to walk into something like this and expect to win, of course, he's got the team. He's got the team to do it, and he'll have the staff to do it too. He'll get the guys that he wants to fill positions.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens from here with Urban Meyer. Speaking here of Papa Joe this morning from the Sunshine State, as we do every Thursday morning with PJ talking with him about the Jaguars, the NFL, college football, and more. PJ, staying with the Jaguars, they have the number 1 pick. They are officially on the clock, and that draft pick will be, coming up here in just a couple months. What are your thoughts on the on this number 1 pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars? They have, I believe, 10 picks in the draft itself, thanks to trading away Yannick Ngakoue as well as Jalen Ramsey. And so as we look at where we're sitting at right now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, having that number 1 overall pick just a little ways away, is this a done deal? Is it Trevor Lawrence? Should it be Trevor Lawrence? What are your thoughts on this? April 29th is when round 1 will be. April 29th is the day the Jaguars will officially make the pick. So we are just a few months away from that. Should it be Trevor Lawrence and nobody else, or do you have somebody else in mind?
Well, we both watched the team this last year, and we watched Glennon, and we watched Luton, and we watched Gardner Minshew. Of course, I love Minshew. I just think he's a good quarterback. He certainly has enough to win. He doesn't have enough to win on this stage, though. I don't think he's got a big enough arm. But I wouldn't be surprised that if Urban secures the position and then it starts moving things around, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts maybe packaging some draft picks to maybe a quarterback that he likes. Not that there's nothing wrong with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's fabulous quarterback. But I could see him maybe wheeling and dealing with someone like Deshaun Watson, who is really in a pickle over there in Houston. Doesn't have anything left of a team over there. They can't poop and get out of the way at the same time, for crying out loud. They're a mess. And you got J.J. Watt over there trying to hold things together. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to put together something for Deshaun Watson. That way he doesn't have to teach Trevor Lawrence how to play quarterback. Boy, how would you like Deshaun Watson to be a quarterback of the Jags? That'd be something too.
Well, and also the fact that they passed on Deshaun Watson when they kept Blake Bortles, so this would be a second chance to get Deshaun Watson. But I mean, between the two of them, what would you want, PJ? Would you want Deshaun Watson, who's been in the league for a few seasons, or do you want a fresh, straight out of college, Trevor Lawrence? I mean, what would you rather have, in your opinion, if you had to choose? We look back at Deshaun Watson's career, and to take a look at his career so far in the league. I mean, Deshaun, this year he had almost 5,000 yards passing. He had 33 touchdowns to a mere 7 interceptions on a horrible team, mind you. And when we look back on it, he's played 4 seasons in the NFL. He played, a few games in 2017-18 as a rookie, and the majority of the games in 2018-19, 19-20, and 2021. He's thrown for over 4,000 yards in 2 out of the 4 years he's been in the NFL. He threw for almost 4,000 in 2019-20, so very close. In 4 years and not 4 full seasons, he's had 14,539 yards to 104 touchdowns to 36 interceptions. He's had 3 seasons with single-digit interceptions, and his only season with double-digit was 19-20, where he had 26 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. His best year is this past season that he's coming off of, despite the fact that the team wasn't good. So do you take that and say, bring it in, or do you take Trevor Lawrence? Here's the irony. They're both Clemson quarterbacks. So which Clemson quarterback do you take?
The knock against Deshaun, and I didn't even want to bring this up because it's not fair to the guy. He just doesn't win. I don't know what the problem is. You couldn't win with Hopkins as one of your wide receivers. I don't know what his problem is. I don't think it's mechanical. I don't think it's cerebral. I think he's probably the best good young black quarterback, period, in the league. And he certainly was going to make the team very, very, very proud. I would like to see him have a chance at Jacksonville. I'm just surmising. If it all depends on how hard Urban Meyer wants to work. Does he want to work that hard with Trevor Lawrence, or does he see a finished product with Trevor Lawrence? Certainly, he's already got one with Deshaun Watson. So, but these are things speculators. You know, the Jaguars has so many draft picks that maybe they could package a bunch of them for someone like Watson or someone like that. I'm just surmising. You know, this is just BS session. You know, to answer your question actually earlier, I do believe that if Urban wants the type of team he wants, then he's going to want to keep Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is highly unique. I mean, we've seen him play for 3 years. We've seen him play as a wet behind-the-ear 18-year-old kid, almost in the biggest stage. I mean, how do you do that? He's a perfect quarterback for any team that wants to draft. So, you know, with that being said, and I'm all done ranting about Deshaun Watson. I think probably that if Urban is going to do this deal, he's going to do it with a brand new quarterback. He's going to do it with 3 or 4 really good wide receivers.
Yeah.
He's going to do it with a sensational young running back. The only thing he's a little bit weak on is with tight end. You know, Eifert and O'Shaughnessy just didn't do the job this year. I'm surprised Eifert in his he didn't do well. I thought maybe coming from Cincinnati he would be much better than that. But you know, the defense needs work too. But it all depends on how hard Urban wants to work. Does he want to work real hard on offense? Urban's the kind of guy that says, you know, take the defense and go somewhere else somewhere. I don't want to know enough about defense. You know, that's why when he was at Florida, he had Dan Mullen as his offensive coordinator. He had Charlie Strong as his defensive coordinator. Those 2 guys are head coaches. I mean, that's the way Urban does. That's the way Urban does things. So, but he's an offensive guy, wants to throw the ball up and down the field, wants to get the ball out in the flat, wants to see his players make plays. So, this could be a pretty crucial next couple of days if Adam Scheffler's right.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing is once this gets set up, then these decisions can start being made. I mean, coming off of a season that Jacksonville had at 1-15, an atrocious season, we've seen them go through coaches. I mean, since Tom Coughlin, the coaching carousel for Jacksonville has been, you know, it's just been insane. You know, I mean, we look at the Jaguars coach history and what they've had, you know, since Tom Coughlin came in and really, you know, from when they were an expansion team, led them through and gave them, you know, so much to be happy about. So we go back to that. I mean, from the beginning, Tom Coughlin did a fantastic job. You know, in the second season in 96, 97, he led them to the playoffs. He led them just outside of the Super Bowl twice. So, you know, Tom Coughlin was there for 8 seasons. When he left, they brought in Jack Del Rio for a bunch of years. Mel Tucker filled in for a couple games when Jack Del Rio was let go. Mike Mularkey was there for about 5 seconds. And then after that, they had Gus Bradley in for 3 full seasons and then part of the 4th. Then Doug Marrone came in. So they haven't had a ton of coaches, but Jack Del Rio rode the equator. And for the, you know, when you look back at his numbers, he was basically a 500 coach. And then Mike Mularkey was 2-14 there. Gus Bradley never had a winning season. And then Doug Marrone had 1 winning season. So really, since Tom Coughlin, it's been mediocre or below the equator line. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's, you know, it has something to do with talent. You know, I mean, you gotta have a good staff. You gotta have a good general manager, a good person in football operations. You gotta be able to go out and recruit these guys and say, what's going to make my football team better? If I can't upgrade the quarterback position or the wide receivers or defensive ends or defensive backs or something like that, I'm in for a tough job. What Urban does is he's sitting back and he's looking. He's got, believe me, I'll guarantee you this. He's got the whole roster right in front of him, and he knows exactly what he's going to do if he gets the job. Now, the thing is that he's going to have to get some assistance. As far as I remember, Urban didn't call plays when he was at Florida, so he's going to have an aggressive offensive coordinator. Defense, we already talked about. You know, he needs to have a really, really good defensive coordinator. So, you know, it all depends on how hard Urban wants to work. If he wants to work hard, at least for a year or two, and then sit back and reap the benefits, I see no problem with that at all.
So we'll see where we go is here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, where what they do with their quarterback situation, what they do with their head coach, and those two moves are usually the moves you get blamed for the most or applauded for the most is the head coach and your quarterback. So Jacksonville has an open door with both, it looks like right now, and who's going to walk through that door will be interesting to see. Is it Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence at quarterback? And then when it comes to head coach, is it going to truly be Urban Meyer? So those questions and whatnot can be answered as we go forward here in the upcoming weeks, maybe upcoming days, maybe upcoming hours. PJ and I will take a step aside for a fast break in the meantime. When we come back, we will continue the conversation and we'll bring it to college football and talk about the coaching carousel and how things just seem to move about a lot very quickly when it comes to college football and different coaches moving around the country. We'll talk about that right after this, where Sports Meets Life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
It's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carbolite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carbolanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carbolite ice cream. Carbo DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're also on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. So happy to be here with you, hanging out and having some fun on a Thursday morning. You know, if it's Thursday, that it's PJ, and that's what it's all about. Papa Joe here with us inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. And when you're listening to us, you should have your popcorn ready, whether you're listening to us live or after it's done on the archived shows. So make sure that you get your Ma and Pa's popcorn anywhere in the 50 states. All you have to do is go to Ma and Pa's popcorn.com. You use the promo code DT20 and they'll ship it right here from Central New York to wherever you are. They'll ship it to Papa Joe, ship it to Ross, ship it anywhere in the 50 states. And of course, if you're here in the community, you could pick it up in the store. But you get 20% off if you use my code online, Ma and Pa's popcorn.com. Promo code DT20. That's DT20. So with that being stated, we're keeping with college football here. We talked about Urban Meyer and his history in college football. Now it's time to talk about college football itself and what's going on right now. The coaching carousel that is college football, we'll get to that in a second. But PJ, I'd love to get your thoughts on what you were saying as we were getting ready to bring you in here, which is roll tide, roll some tide. What are you thinking about those Alabama Crimson Tide?
Yeah. Well, if you've listened to me for a couple of years, and your listeners are probably I don't want to hear this guy anymore about this, But let's face it. I mean, the reason that Alabama looked so comfortable and was so easy with the ball was because of their speed. The rest of the country has got to start picking up on this. I know Cristobal over there in Oregon is doing a good job bringing in some speed over there. But if you don't have speed, you're not going to win, especially in the SEC. Now, let's face it. Ohio State was not a bad team. Ohio State was a really good team. The only problem I have with Ohio State is their coaches. Is their defensive coordinator called a terrible game. I have no idea what he was thinking about. I mean, why would you isolate a white middle linebacker on Devontae Smith who goes 90 million yards and 100 miles an hour? I mean, you saw that. I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean, of course, the kid, he felt terrible. I mean, the guys were walking up to him. There's no way you can stay up with someone like that. At least put a defensive back with some speed on him or something. But, I'm sure that young man's going to be a good football player somewhere, too. Probably a good middle linebacker in the pros. But, we saw it. I thought maybe after a quarter, maybe it was 7-7 or 14-7, maybe we could have a little bit of a game. But I knew Sarkisian was just, I could see what he was doing. He was moving Devontae Smith all over the place. He'd put him in the backfield. He'd split him out. He'd slot him. Even behind the tight end, I saw him. When you got a guy like that that's isolated, and you got a quarterback that's like Mac Jones who can throw it on a dime anywhere,
yeah.
It was easy. I mean, what I really liked was that he had all of these yards by halftime. How can you have over 200 yards of receptions, 3 touchdowns, and the game is over at halftime? And he never came back in the game. So, the rest of the country, you want to hear Papa Joe bitching all the time about how you do your recruiting and stuff like that? Take a little dip down into the South, plenty of states down here, start recruiting some speed, and start keeping up with these guys. Because if not, you're going to get run right out of it again. Now, Coach Day, again, a fine young man.
Yeah.
Urban gave him the keys to a Cadillac. Urban only won one national title in 8 years at Ohio State. That pissed him off. I'll guarantee you, that pissed him off because he thought he had better athletes than that. So, the rest of the country, the ACC is just as fast as the SEC, and the AAA is really starting to pick up a little bit after what I saw with Cincinnati and Central Florida a couple years ago. So, you do the best you can. These kids can only be eligible to go to school, and you hope that they're smart enough to learn some X's and O's and play some decent football. So, I turned it off. I mean, there's no reason to watch it anymore. I wasn't going to watch all the hoopla at the end. It just was. It just wasn't a good game. I mean, you got to credit. You got to have the fault to Ohio State's defensive coordinator. That's where the blame lies.
So we're looking at this right now, and I know that we're talking about the college football playoff championship, but our first conversation is now looking like it's coming through. God works in mysterious ways, and I can honestly tell you, in very purposeful ways. My morning show, whether it's been on the weekends or during the week, whatever time it's been at, he has given me the blessing and the opportunity to report things as they happen, report them live. It looks like Urban Meyer will, in fact, be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The press conference looks like it will be coming later on today. Your thoughts, Papa Joe, on Michael Lombardi just put this out here. Yeah, Mike Lombardi just put it out that it looks like this is indeed going to happen, that Jacksonville will be hiring Urban Meyer as their head coach with a press conference on its way later today. Your thoughts?
Are you kidding me? The NFL is going to be turned on their head by the Urban Meyer. The Urbanite is coming to North Florida. Hot almighty damn, I like that, Danny.
And I got to look at my email because, like I said, I've been covering the Jaguars for the better part of over a decade now, on site, on location for the majority of that. And so now I got to check my email to see what we get, because we normally get the official word coming from them, and we haven't gotten anything official yet from the. I want to just double check here. Have we gotten anything in this? So no official word here from Jacksonville yet. Normally, if there's going to be a press conference, we're gonna get some type of a message about the press conference coming up. So we haven't received anything yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not coming within the next few minutes. And I'm just going to leave my email open here in the studio to see what comes through, if and when it comes through. But yeah, we're looking at the fact that on the day that Papa J is on the show, the Gator fan and Gator, you've been a Gator forever and a day. So the Gator Connect for you, the Urban Meyer connection through that, and then now being on the air together as we discuss it, and us both being connected to Jacksonville, hearing this news this morning. So it's pretty amazing, but God's timing is perfect, and I just thought that I would let you know that, because I think it's pretty cool that of all people to be on the air with me when this happens would be Papa J, connected to Gainesville, connected to the Gators, connected to the Jaguars, and during a conversation where we're talking about the man himself, Mr. Urban Meyer. So very, very cool moment for us, I would say.
Daniel, just so he doesn't take Mullins away to be the offensive coordinator.
Okay, yeah.
Just so he doesn't do that. I don't want to hear that now. I don't want him to do that. Well,
I mean, and that would be a little gut punch to the Gators.
Charlie Strong back as a defensive coordinator. He'll have the team that he had 15 years ago at the University of Florida.
Well, that's the thing too. Is it's like, well, he figured out a way to win in the state of Florida, and with the Gators. So now the notion is, can he go ahead and win, with in the state of Florida, but with an NFL team now? Can he do that? I mean, arguably the Florida Gators, if they played the Jaguars today, would beat them. So the question is, is he in a place right now where he can bring up another Florida team and not too far away from Gainesville? So we'll have to see if he could do it and if he chooses to do it. But it looks like as of right now, this is going to be his choice. So this is a thing here, and we'll have to see what can happen as we move forward here today. But as it stands right now, it looks like this is going to go down. I'm reading some of the quotes here. Greg said Watson also comes with a big money contract, and then he said, "Where were you in the moment today?" Pretty special. So like basically where was everybody when Urban Meyer got hired, type of thing. So well, it'll be interesting to see. Greg also said, "Come on, Papa Joe." So I don't know what you said that got him putting his hand over his face this morning. You said something, but
Daniel, just so long as he doesn't bring Jameis with him. I'm sorry, my man Jameis, he's got to be out in left field.
Mr. Winston will not be coming to Jacksonville. I'm pretty confident about that. But so we'll see what happens here. Like I said, I'm awaiting the official word from the Jaguars in the email that they send out to the media that cover them, and I being a part of that for the better part of the last, I would say 11 years or so. So we'll look out for that as we continue. But to get back to the college football playoff championship, Devontae Smith, 3 touchdowns. It would be a rational thought that he would go to the Jets or to the Dolphins at 2 or 3. He had 215 yards. If he goes to Miami, he will be reunited with Tua from Alabama, and Devontae and Tua would have the opportunity to play together in Miami with the Dolphins. 12 catches, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns in the game. Mac Jones had 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 464 yards, 36 of 45. Najee Harris had 2 touchdowns on the ground and 79 yards on 22 carries. So when you look at the quarterback, the receiver, and the running back situation, everything looks great. They won by 28 points. against Ohio State, beat them by 4 touchdowns in the national championship game. Alabama put Ohio State in their place, basically told Ohio State maybe they should have gotten some more experience. Maybe they should have played another half of their season like everybody else had to.
Right. How about 11 games?
Yeah, how about 11 games to get them prepared for this moment? But I guess playing in a Big Ten where really nobody was good outside of 2 or 3 teams this year was good enough, but it really wasn't. So, Ohio State, to me, it would have been a travesty if they won. I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying, in reality, to me, it would have been a travesty if Ohio State won. I would have said that about anybody because the committee let them in with an exception to the rule, and I don't believe that anybody should be let in like that. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right, and I think Ohio State would have made the College Football Playoff Committee look correct in their decision-making, which I thought was very maybe personal, maybe led a certain way by certain things that didn't have anything to do with scheduling, with strength of schedule, or with the amount of games played. Ohio State played in a conference where Indiana went 6-1 and was good. Iowa was pretty good. Northwestern was pretty good. But Wisconsin was average. Minnesota, Nebraska, Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, Rutgers, and Maryland, and Penn State were all below 500. So the conference wasn't that great. They only beat 2 ranked teams this season. They only played half the games of Alabama. And I just think that if they would have won the college football playoff, it would have set a dangerous precedent that the college football playoff can make decisions that should be questioned, but ultimately ended up leading to a championship. So I think if Ohio State won or anybody in their position won, it would have done a disservice to the college football playoff and to college football in general.
When you think about the way they put the games together, I know we like to jump at them, be critical of them, which is true. I mean, we like to rag them a little bit. But they did the best job they could with the pressure that was being put on them by other outside pressures. I mean, let's face it, that was not an easy decision to put Ohio State in there. And the Big Ten would have raced holy hell for the next 3 years if they weren't in there. Mary, 5 minutes. Mary's leaving.
See you, Miss Mary.
Okay. You know what? I want to go back to Ohio State and Alabama just again for something. I went and pulled up Alabama's roster, and then I pulled in their recruiting sheet, and the amount of players that they have at skill positions are mind-boggling. I mean, I'm talking 15 to 18 players that are probably 5 stars, all of them, maybe a few 4 stars. They run fast. They're big and fast like Najee Harris. They're fast like Devontae Smith. And Nick Saban, he doesn't get enough credit for this. Nick Saban spends a lot of time on the road himself. He goes into these homes and tries to sell these kids. I mean, if you're gonna call up Grandma and say, Grandma, please get some cornbread on the table or something like that, because Nick Saban's coming to visit me. He wants me to come and play for Alabama. And she said, okay, honey, I said what you say. All of a sudden he comes in there, has some cornbread and some hot butter on it, and tells the kid to come to Ohio State. Alabama. There was a kid that plays wide receiver for Alabama. I forgot his last name. But Nick Saban recruited him in the 8th grade. Hear me now.
Yeah.
8th grade. He made him an offer. He never wavered from that offer. The kid came to Alabama. He owes Nick Saban everything. He says, I would be dead without Nick Saban. So that's the way he is. I mean, that's the way he is. So, the rest of the coaches, you guys, you got to maybe go to the Nick Saban school down here in Alabama and see what you can come up with. But he's not going to give away any secrets, but he's also a very hard worker. The college coaching is a mess with all you got all these jobs that are open, and you have the pros that are open now. You lost Pedersen from Philadelphia; he lost his job, so now you got another name you want to put in there. So, there's a lot of guys out there like Dan Mullen and Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and Dabo Sweeney and a lot of these guys that are looking at these pros and saying, eventually they're going to have a team come open, and I'm going to slide in there. And that's all we can do is just read about it. But if we know, like someone like Sweeney, you know him pretty good. I mean, if he's not going to cut short if he wants something. So if he sees something that comes up that looks attractive to him, he'll leave Clemson for $8 or $9 million.
Yeah. So I mean, we look at this, and as things come arise, we talk about the coaching carousel. PJ, it happens every year. The coaching carousel of college football, the coaching carousel of the NFL. Looking at college football, I mean, contracts mean absolutely nothing, basically, when it comes to coaching. When it comes to coaching in the college football ranks in Division I FBS, it just continues to change rapidly. I mean, I saw 3 coaches at one point in the American Athletic. 3 coaches sign extensions all in the same month, I believe it was, and they were all gone before any of those extensions happened. So what can you say about the coaching carousel that is college football, and just your overall thoughts?
It's just like the pros, Daniel. Money talks. And if you have a major school coming after you, look what Texas did. Took Sarkisian right out from under Saban. But that happens with him a lot. I mean, he loses a lot of his assistant coaches, and he just brings someone else in there, plugs him into the program, and gets 500 yards a game and 1 million points. The jobs are out there. Frankly, I think I would be honored if I was Saber, and I would just say, I just lost another coach to a major school, and I'm pretty proud of that. I mean, my program is awful good, and if Steve Sarkisian wants to go to Texas and try to beat me, more power to him. I'm happy for him. So, but there's a lot of these coaches out that are looking at situations like this. Someone's going to come up with something that's attractive to them, and bang, he's got it. Look at the guy that went to the Rule guy. He went to Rule. Didn't he go to Carolina?
Matt Rule, yeah.
Rule, yeah. Now, he came out of nowhere. I mean, he was a college coach. He had a couple of good seasons. All of a sudden, he comes into the pros. He makes Teddy Bridgewater a good quarterback, and they're competitive. So, there's a lot of jobs out there that are really good, but they're only good for a certain type of guy.
Yeah, and as we look at it right now, the coaching carousel for college football, to give you all an update, this is what it looks like. First and foremost, in Boise State, Brian Harsin left for Auburn, and so Andy Avalos is there now. He's returning to his alma mater, to Boise State. Marshall fired Doc Holliday. They have not filled that position. Steve Sarkisian has gone off to Texas, where Tom Herman was fired. He'll take over the Longhorns after being Alabama's offensive coordinator. Brian Harsin, like I said, is in Auburn. Gus Malzahn was fired to open up that job. Kevin Sumlin was fired at Arizona. Jed Fish takes that over. Terry Bowden takes over at looking at him and where he's going to be right now. Terry Bowden is at ULM after Matt Viator was fired. Clark Lee, who I actually know from, and this is kind of cool to talk about this connection. He was the linebackers coach under Scott Schaefer at Syracuse. Then he went on to Notre Dame, and now he's the head coach of Vanderbilt after Derek Mason was fired. So I'll be looking to get in touch with Clark Lee again. Brent Belema is at Illinois after Lovie Smith was fired. Lovie Smith, the former head coach of the Chicago Bears. Butch Jones is now moving on after Blake Anderson resigned. So looking at that, so now seeing Butch Jones continue on here and coach. Kane Womack has taken the job that Steve Campbell was fired from. We look at Utah State. Utah State. This is the crazy thing with Utah State. They lost their coaching staff to Texas Tech just a little while ago. Gary Anderson took over. He's already been fired, and Blake Anderson, of a different last name, O-N instead of E-N, he's there. Shane Beamer, the son of longtime Virginia Tech head coach Frank Beamer, is at South Carolina, where Will Muschamp was fired. And then we're looking at some other things that have happened here. Mario Cristobal at Oregon has been extended. Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina, after having a fantastic season there, He's been extended. Justin Fuente was retained by Virginia Tech. Scott Satterfield, who allegedly looked at the South Carolina job, he is sticking with Louisville. And the Ragin' Cajuns keep Bill Napier on their staff. So there's been some movement, PJ, some things that are happening. Sarkisian was about 3 seconds out of the college football playoff championship hoisting the trophy and already had headed over to Texas. What do you think about that? Not only that there's a coaching carousel, but how quickly, when it comes to teams like Alabama and whatnot, how these guys are playing in coaching in championship games, and within 5 seconds of winning a championship, they're already over to their new team doing a press conference.
Well, let's remember that these schools that we talk about, the big schools, they offer a lot of money. I mean, just because someone is paid $6 or $7 million a year to be the head coach, that doesn't mean the coordinators don't make $2.5 or $3 million. Those are big jobs, and I don't question anyone to go for those big jobs. So if you don't want to get a head coaching job at a middle major that's only going to pay a couple of $1 million a year, then you get an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator for a couple of million, and then you're ready to go. And guys like Saban and Sweeto and these guys, they got to be flexible. They got to know they have to look down the road. I mean, they can look at when Saban brought in Sarkisian, he knew he wasn't going to last long. But that's the way Saban is. He'll use them for a year or two or something like that, and they're off on the way. So the only problem I have is the financial constraints that are talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like to see these major universities spending all this money just to buy these coaches out. I mean, that should go to some type of educational program or something like that. Not to give some guy $7 million because you bought him out of a contract. That's the problem I have with these things. I want to see the money stay with the education, not to boot some guy out the door.
Yeah, and that's definitely something, too, the amount of money that it takes to get rid of some of these coaches. Obviously, it's a protection put in place, but some coaches have buyouts that are $50 million, $40 million, which is insane. I put the poll up with the notion that Urban Meyer will be the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Where do you stand? You could choose I love it, I like it, I dislike it, or I strongly dislike it, because my grandmother said never use hate, it's too strong of a word. So that poll is up there on Twitter at CallDT. Make sure you follow me there at CALLDT and vote in our polls weekly. We typically put up stuff weekly, if not weekly, then bi-weekly. Which Clemson Tiger or quarterback do you take if you're the Jaguars? Do you trade for Deshaun Watson or draft Trevor Lawrence? 100% of you said draft Trevor Lawrence. Nobody said trade for Deshaun Watson. So you've let your voice be heard. Continue to do that this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora's Twitter feed. That's at CallDT, CALLDT. Papa Joe, we have now finished up today's broadcast. We talked about a lot of things that are obviously going on in the world, and you and I could go back and look on this day years from now, months from now, days from now, hours from now, and say that we got to talk about it as it was happening with Urban Meyer joining the Jaguars. So it's a proud moment for me to share, and there's no better person to share it with. I love you, and I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you, Daniel. See you later.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, I will have Ross Turetsky on the broadcast with us, joining us to give his thoughts on the crazy world that we live in, be it sports or be it the world in general. If you need a laugh this morning, hang tight. If you want to have some deep, good-rooted conversation, hang tight, because you never know what's going to happen when Ross comes on the air, but it's always positive, it's always good, and it's always meant to put a smile on your face.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavocolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avocolis, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.